with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act, the Highland Park Board of Education has given adequate notice of this meeting by having published the date, time, and place of this meeting in the Home News Tribune and has posted notice of this meeting at the Middle School, 330 Wayne Street, Highland Park, New Jersey. Linda, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Aversa?
Here.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Here.
Ms. Bull?
Here.
Ms. Simaristi?
Here.
Mr. Dietz? Mr. Ross?
Here.
Ms. Scherber?
Here.
Mr. Sherman?
Here.
Mr. Wharton?
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need a motion to approve the regular public and executive session minutes from November 3rd, 2014.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion of either of those?
I have a very strange one. Don't ask me why I happened to catch this, but I did. On page 3 of the regular session minutes, page 3 of 11C, under Personnel and Communication, it says that Mr. Sherman commented on something, which would have been really hard because Mr. Sherman wasn't here.
I was in Asia.
I mean, he may have been like, it was probably Mr. Wharton,
I
would
texting
think.
you from Asia.
Or maybe it was Miss
kind of
Wharton, I don't
blowing
know.
your mind, but, you know.
So item 13,
No, it's page 3 of 11C, Personnel and Communications.
right, what was item 13 though?
I
Maybe it's Ms. Scherber?
don't know.
That's a good guess.
Here. It's down here.
Could have been anybody.
Why would there be? There wouldn't normally be comments. There wouldn't normally be comments underneath the actual number.
Well, someone was pointing out the importance of,
Where's the comment though?
no, the comment is in the review, in the report.
Maybe someone can remember commenting on the importance to the district for the appointment on item 13 and to look at our website and finding ways to improve the site.
It's probably me,
Probably you.
yeah.
So shall I change it to say Mr. Ross?
Let's change it and then we'll look at the video and we'll just verify it. Any other discussion of the minutes? Could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Aversa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Ms. Simaristi?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Abstain.
Mr. Wharton?
Yes. Linda, communications?
There was a communication from a member of the public about the elections and another communication over the weekend, I believe, about the Irving School playground rules.
Thank you. Mr. Soto. Superintendent's report.
We would begin with the student update.
So for achievements, first marking period has ended and benchmarks took place without much conflict in classes. Also, in the sports field, winter sports have begun their preseason training. Also, this is very exciting. We had our first football win Saturday, and they won. Is that the date? And they won 15-12. Also, for Veterans Day, 277 students attended, and DECA presented Mr. Hogue, a war veteran, with the award for his magnanimous help with past DECA charity events. Also, DECA will host an assembly on Service Day, November 26th at 8 a.m. with Seeing Eye Incorporation. The foundation will be bringing at least one puppy, and will be holding a presentation on their services and what they do. Other groups such as NHS, GAG, and Student Congress will also hold workshops for Service Day. Also, we're gearing up for Model UN, and we're getting ready for our UN conference in early December.
Okay, so some things that are in progress. The Chromebooks are being used to implement the student survey that we had talked about a few meetings ago. And we hope to have all of the results by next meeting. And just in case you forgot what the survey was, it's about the student website, or the school website. Okay. The robotics team is preparing for their new tech room, and they're working on their grant applications. The new fitness center for football is coming soon, and there's going to be more details on that, hopefully by next meeting. The school's production of Brighton Beach Memoirs will take place this week on November 20th, 21st, and 22nd. That's this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. The Drama Club encourages Highland Park to see the upcoming play, which will take place on a 2-story set, so that's exciting. So to anyone who has a high school student, the down payment of $20 for a yearbook is due by December 20th. And also, we want to spread the word about HT Presentation, which is on December 12th. It's a fundraiser for the senior class. HT Presentation will have a $2 entrance fee, and you can see students' original artwork, poetry, as well as the premiere of a student short film, The Presenter. And we hope to have a flyer for this by next meeting. And the last thing, it's not exactly a question, we just kind of I mean, the seniors are confused about Park, but that's not really an issue because we're not taking Park. But so we hear that teachers are going to workshops concerning Park and that some subjects such as math and science are already kind of gearing up for the test. We also hear that the district will be holding an information session regarding the assessment, and we look forward to learning more about Park and how it will be implemented. So thank you.
Is there an information session that's planned, or is this something that's...
Yes, it is. There is an information session. As a matter of fact, 2 of our colleagues will be attending a workshop, and we will be doing a presentation to the principals and then sharing with students and teachers alike.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm going to be very brief today. I just have a few updates in terms of our ESL committee. They've been working very diligently to put forth a plan. They're going to be submitting their findings and recommendations to my office very soon, and you will have the opportunity to have a full-scale presentation by them and Mr. Shlala. So we're anticipating that presentation. In addition to that, it goes beyond the presentation. We're looking forward to really implementing significant initiatives beginning in January, and we're going to be scaffolding these initiatives as we move along. I just want to share that one of the unique characteristics that the Highland Park, the community of Highland Park has, is that it exemplifies a very high level of engagement, and certainly the leaders really appreciate that, and we embrace that. And so, having said that, I've gotten an earful regarding Irving's playground, and I can certainly understand your perspective, and we would like to give all of us that opportunity to continue to discuss this further. So we have set a date for Monday the 24th for Q&A with the parents. We welcome your input. We wanted to do this prior to the 1st. We know how important it is for us to be transparent and to really flush out all of the details. So you'll be given that opportunity on the 24th. We decided to do 2 sessions, okay? One at 10 o'clock in the morning, and for those parents that work, one in the evening, I believe at 3:30 when they pick up their kids. So you'll have that opportunity to engage in a deeper conversation with both Ms. Kelly, some of her staff members, and myself, so we can discuss this further.
Excuse me, Israel, you mean November 24th?
Yes,
not December.
November.
Okay.
No, November 24th. I'm sorry. Thank you, Claire.
I was just checking.
Good. So you're paying attention.
I'm totally paying attention. Bright-eyed.
All right. And just a brief enrollment report. As of October 2014, we have a number of an increase of 12 students in the district. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
12 students.
12 students what?
Addition.
In addition to in the district, yes.
Yeah, if we could get specific numbers about each of the schools, that would be helpful. Do you have them?
As a matter of fact, I do. In pre-kindergarten, we had 3. In kindergarten, 2. In first grade, we had 3. Third grade, 1. Fourth grade, 2. Sixth grade, 1. Seventh grade, 1. And 10th grade, 1.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Claire, curriculum report, please.
Yes, curriculum committee met tonight, and we discussed a policy, or some policies, and we also met sometime this past week. I don't remember when it was. And we looked at policies that had been tabled, as well as other policies that we had yet to discuss. On the agenda, there are a number of items. I guess most important is the official appointing Bill Shalala as the district anti-bullying coordinator, and the approval of the ELL curriculum for 4th grade. And that is all.
And was that in our drive? I honestly totally spaced that.
Is what
Didn't
in
go
our
looking
drive?
for it. That 4th grade curriculum.
I did not look for it.
Do we know who's reviewed it or how it's been reviewed, or? Because wasn't it 4th and 10th that was supposed to be being rewritten? There were 2 grades, I thought.
4th and what grade?
I believe it was 4th and 10th, where the ELL curriculum were being written. So I'm sorry I didn't follow up on that after I saw it on the agenda. But so, I mean, do we know how that was reviewed, or because this is a rewrite?
It actually isn't on the drive. I just checked. It's not there.
So,
We need to
how are we
drive.
passing something that we haven't
We'll
looked at?
table it.
That was a rewrite. I believe it was 4th grade. I received a copy of the 4th grade. So has it been uploaded? You're saying that it hasn't been
No,
uploaded?
it's
It
not.
will then, yes.
So, can we table that for now and
Yep.
Any other discussion on the curriculum items?
and maybe find out update on the 10th grade?
Yeah.
Because I believe both of those were moved together, the rewrites.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to table number 5?
Yeah, so presumably this was looked at by Mr. Benjamin, right? So we need the 10th grade, we need a status update from Mr. Lassiter. And there's a space in the drive for curriculum, so.
So, but we're not going to move number 5 tonight?
Correct.
Okay.
Catherine?
Oh, wait, I did have one more question.
Oh,
Or
sorry.
actually, although it's not something that's on the agenda tonight, so maybe I should do it under old business or something. I had asked for a curriculum update it was mentioned, I think, like 3 meetings ago about Study Island being used as benchmarking and park prep, basically, and I had asked for...
You can bring that up in old business.
Okay.
Catherine?
The Finance and Facilities Committee did meet tonight. We talked about the Bartle School window replacement project, which has begun. It probably will extend a little later than the end of the year, just due to scheduling and how late they can work in the evenings. The Irving School and Bartle School playgrounds have been repaired. The high school sign is up and operating. Let's see. Linda met with one of the companies who works on bringing Chinese students into schools in New Jersey, just as part of that effort that we're exploring. We're investigating the possibility of an equipment grant from the Division of Child Nutrition for the cafeteria. And the audit report is almost done. And we'll be talking about that at the December meeting. And we also discussed policy. And just bring your attention to item 9 on the agenda, which is just the Highland Park Education Foundation grants to teachers. And again, we're just so fortunate to have the Ed Foundation in town. They work very hard, and people in town are so very generous, so that these projects get funded on teacher initiative and doing different things that just can't go into a budget. So we really appreciate that, as always. And that's it.
I would like to add that it's great to see that so many teachers applied and received grants, because that doesn't happen every year. So it's really exciting, and there's a few of these field trips that I would like to go on. If that's allowed, I don't know.
Is there any other discussion of the finance items?
And 10 is the settlement agreement we discussed in closed?
Closed
Okay.
session item.
Yeah. Okay. Ann, personnel?
Personnel Committee met tonight, and we discussed a paternity leave and the extension of a medical leave. Additionally, we discussed some of the personnel policies that had been tabled at previous meetings and were able to email Susan, so they should reappear on the agenda at the next meeting. So I think that we still, 2 of them are mandatory and required for CUSAC, so I believe that we still have time to get them into the manual before the end of the year.
Okay, great. And I just want to point out item number 4, which is the ratification of the contract with the HPEA. Yeah, we can give some... So this will be signed formally either end of the week or early next week. So we very much look forward to having this behind us. We can move forward with the other good work that everybody's doing inside the school. Is there any other commentary on personnel?
I just want to make the comment now that when we vote on it, I'll abstain on 4 again because I'm conflicted out of negotiations because my husband being in the union.
Thank you. Okay, Adam, policies?
The policy committee met to discuss all of the 0 policies in your agenda tonight. We made a few changes. They are reflected in your drive. That is the policy committee report.
Okay.
Do we want to go through each policy? I don't think there should be any comments on second reading, as they've all been done. So I don't need to necessarily go through all of those. But we can go through first reading.
I had a procedural question on second reading because, and actually Susan and I talked about this today, and there seems to be like a discrepancy between what Susan and Betty have done in the past and what I guess your office has done in the past in terms of second reading, whether second reading policy should be presented to us with the changes already made or whether they should be presented to us with the strikeouts. And I was wondering if anybody else had, because we have like kind of like a mishmash in the agenda, or like, you know, in the policies that we're looking at for second reading. To me, it makes more sense to get them the way they're going to be, you know, with the strikeouts and stuff removed, and for us to get the policy, you know, as it's going to then be put into the policy manual. I don't know if anybody else cares or, you know, gave it any note, but
I like the strike-throughs.
Yeah, I mean, I had this conversation with Adam. My understanding, my recollection is that second reading was always the clean copy. That the strike-through version, we go through it on first reading, we make all the changes, and then we get the clean copy for second reading. But
I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't know if there's a procedural reason to do it otherwise.
The only piece that I would say, it makes it harder to align the first reading with the second reading if the strike-throughs are removed. I mean, because then you're comparing two you can do it, but it requires a lot more detailed reading of that second policy before approval.
Right.
So, I mean, just having 2 documents that are similar, so you know you're passing the same document through the entire process makes it a little easier.
I don't see how the strike-throughs hurt the process, and I think that they should be in there just for that reason. And so when there are questions about what's being changed in general, that they're seen. So I would not change.
But then I think the devil's advocate position is then we're not seeing it all between when the strike-throughs are taken out and then when it goes into the policy manual.
When I read a strike-through policy, I read it like it's the policy. I mean, I don't see a difference. If you see the strike-through, you're not reading that. You're not reading that part, and the bolded part is what you're reading. I don't read it. I read it as a cohesive document.
Okay.
In my personal, everybody reads differently. But
Right.
yeah. I use track change every day. It's natural. So, I mean, I think regardless, it should be consistent throughout. I would err on the side of strike-throughs, but I think if you want them without that, it's just accept all changes and you can have them.
Well, I think what Ashley said is accurate, that it's much harder to compare the 2 documents. It's much more like comparing apples to apples if you have the strikeouts in the second reading of the policy.
But then we wouldn't get, will we get again the final print, or no? The second reading is going to
That's just,
show,
but it would end up it would end up online. So, that's,
Okay, right.
the clean copy would end up online in our
So it's not
policy.
double work for the office?
No, it would just be accept all changes would be how it would be done.
Okay.
Then it's done.
So I
don't care which way.
Yeah.
have a question on one of the policies that's up for first reading.
Yep.
that I want to introduce changes to, but I don't have the materials with me tonight to make those changes, introduce those changes. So I would like to table that policy.
It's on your, everything's on your drive. Sorry.
No, not the changes that I want to make, that I want to introduce. I don't have those with me tonight, so I would like to table this policy so I could bring the changes to the next meeting.
We can pass it for first reading, you can make changes
Yeah.
to the second reading, because it would be,
We need to do it.
yeah, especially the bylaws need to get done before the end of the year.
It won't change anything if you make the changes next time versus this time. It makes no difference.
It makes, okay. Then why do we do 2 readings?
It's state law that they have to be read for public and for to notice that we are making changes.
Okay, well, I'm going to not vote for one of them.
Okay.
Are we?
Do you want to talk about? So so the policy committee discussed all the zeros, and I believe Claire, your committee discussed the 2s and the 5s.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So I think if they've gone through committee, we should be able to just move them. If anybody has any comments on any of them, they would see them in the drive and they can speak up. But I don't see a need to go through every single policy tonight.
Okay. I have a couple comments.
That's fine.
So 5756.
Oh, wait. Are we going through, we're not going to go through any of them?
No.
If you have
comments, you can go through anything that you want.
Isn't that just going to get scattered? Can't we just go through the numbers and ask if anybody has any comments on any of the numbers? Otherwise, you're just going to have people calling out random ones. Why don't we just go in order?
That's a good idea.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. .02.
There's just a couple of housekeeping ones on that one where there's a couple of strange indents.
You can just, you can give that to Linda. We don't need to discuss that.
Yeah, we don't need to.
Well, can I just-
0141. 0143. 0146.
Good grief.
0152.
In 0152, the second paragraph, the last sentence seems to be a bit of a fragment, and I'm not quite sure what's
Candidates
missing.
receiving the vote of the majority of the board members. That sentence?
Yeah.
You remember.
Does what? There's no action there.
Candidates receiving the majority. Board members. Linda, can you look at the Strauss Esme version of that?
I don't even know which policy you're talking about.
0152.
Darcy, where are you referring to?
The last sentence in the second paragraph? 0152?
I mean, I think it's saying receives the is elected.
It refers to so the way it reads is candidate receiving the votes of a plurality of the board members or a majority of the board members.
Will be elected to office. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So it's missing the,
So we're filling in the
Hold on.
pieces.
So what's on the drive is not.
is what's different than what's printed?
Yes.
No, it's there.
No.
Will be
On the
elected.
drive.
Do you have the one with choose only one of the following alternatives? Or do you have it written as a sentence?
Huh?
No, I know.
How do we all have different copies? I don't know. I have the copy that I was given.
What is it? What is the second paragraph? Read the
It
entire
says
second
any
paragraph.
members may place a member's name in nomination. A second is not required. Election for each office will be conducted by roll call vote when the nominations for that office are closed. The candidate receiving the votes of a majority of the board members.
Oh.
And then in the next paragraph, under president voting, it says will be elected to office.
Mine doesn't say that.
Oh, the end.
They
That piece got chopped out when you.
Yeah,
when
it got
you-
chopped out. So, all right, that's fine. So this sentence is missing on the drive. The will be elected. to
And
office.
Susan may have Susan printed this out for me today, so I may have a more updated version than the rest of you
No,
have.
I mean you don't. It's not correct in what I'm looking at. It's corrected. It's correct here. Whatever this is.
Darcy, what number?
0152.
So here.
01. He's got it.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, perfect. All right, the change will read, majority of the board will be elected to office in the event of a candidate receives a majority of the votes, no candidate receives a majority of the vote cast, a second election shall be conducted, etc. So the option, the personnel committee chose not the personnel, the policy committee chose the option and was supposed to be input into the document and just wasn't done properly. And the option we chose was the majority of the board versus the plurality. Okay? Right, and then just missing that sentence. Oh, and then voting shall take place by verbal roll call vote. And that's voting shall take place by verbal roll call vote. So it's just missing that will. Okay? Linda, you got that? You will in a second.
Majority of board members.
Yes.
That's what I got.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you have to add that sentence. The will be elected. The bolded sentence.
Yeah, the paragraph underneath.
Voting to be take place by verbal roll call?
No.
Yeah.
Up above.
Number. Yeah.
Number 1, by written ballot?
No.
No.
Okay, will be elected to office?
Yep.
Exactly.
And
You
then.
want that?
Yep.
It's not in there now.
Okay.
And then we'll also, roll call, verbal roll call is the second option.
Option 2.
Okay. Just first reading. Okay. Thank you. Board of 0163. 0167.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some comments on that one.
Okay.
0167 is public participation in board meetings.
Yes.
So this is a policy we referred to quite a bit
Yep.
in the last 12 months. And this takes out a key piece that we actually enacted last year, which was that the presiding officer, it used to read that the president, with the consent of the board, could limit public comment. Now we've just put in that the presiding officer may limit each statement made by a participant. So we've taken away with the consent of the board, and we've just put that power in the hands of the presiding officer, and we've just automatically stated that time limit would then be 5 minutes.
Yep.
Where what the choice of the board was for the last 12 months was 3 minutes. So some of this.
The policy committee discussed this, and this was the recommendation of the majority of the policy committee.
This is the policy I also have questions
Yeah.
about, so I will bring my changes next time to it. But I really don't want to put this one for first reading today. That's me.
Well, I have different issues with it, I'm sure, but I mean, I certainly think this one could benefit from some more discussion.
Now's the discussion time.
Well, I mean, I'm perfectly happy to discuss my issues with it, but it sounds
Okay,
like
go
Claire's not
ahead.
ready to.
I don't have my exact wording, but go ahead if you want to discuss it.
Well, I mean, if we're going to limit it at all, I would prefer to keep in with the consent of the board.
It was the view of the committee that the prerogative, it was really the presidential prerogative to make the decision as the chairman of the meeting.
And why not with the consent of the board?
It falls within the duty of that role to manage the meeting.
Okay. I mean, and the 30 minutes, where did 30 minutes come from? I mean, like how is a person supposed to gauge if they think public comment en masse that just seems completely arbitrary, a completely arbitrary way to decide whether the presiding officer is or isn't going to limit public comment. Like you stick your finger up to the wind and, I mean, clearly I've made it very clear for the whole year that I don't want to limit public comment, and if we do, I think, again, I'll say it again, I think it should be with the consent of the full board, and and not for some arbitrary reason like we think it might exceed 30 minutes.
What arbitrary reason would you like?
I'd like no arbitrary reason.
So I've stated that I cannot stay past 11 o'clock. I think it's too late, and I don't make good decisions after 11 o'clock, really after 10 o'clock. But I can stay till 11 from time to time. But I do not want to be here till 1 in the morning unless it's an extreme emergency. So I need something, I would prefer to have in policy something that would limit our meeting time to 11 o'clock, and anything that's not done can be taken up at the next meeting.
And
I think a lot of the reasons our meetings have gone on till 1 o'clock have been in the public comment section, when people speak over and over and don't actually heed the time limits. So I would like something in the policy, and I have the wording at home of what to introduce, so that people are limited on how much they speak.
Well, and I would disagree on 2 points. I actually, after we had this conversation months ago, when you were interested in making changes to this policy, I went back and I looked at the longest meetings where we were here until 1 o'clock or midnight or whatever. And actually, in those meetings, the things that took the longest time was actually the superintendent's report. They were nights where there were 2, 3, and 4 superintendent's reports, and they went on for quite some time. And in those meetings, generally the public comment was actually less time than those reports. And I think, as we've seen, if it's kind of, just normal operating of the district, public comment is pretty limited, there aren't that many people, they don't speak very long, and they're respectful of our time. What happened last year is not something that I want to set policy around.
I hear you, and I understand what you're saying. I don't agree, for whatever reason. If it's a superintendent's report or public comment, I would just like to limit the meetings till be 11 o'clock.
Right. And I'd have less problems with limiting the length of meetings, I think, than limiting public comment to try to get to that end. I think if that's our end, then we can discuss ways to get to that end that don't necessarily involve limiting the role of the public in our meeting.
And I don't think we can limit the length of a meeting. Because if it happens to be that an issue is up, then, and 50 people are here to speak, and we're going to give them a chance to speak, what happens, if they're speaking in the front of the meeting, and we don't get to voting on these issues, then the district comes to a grinding halt. Because we really are here to pass these things, not only, but we are responsible for passing the items that are on the agenda to make sure that people can go on maternity leave, or people, bills can be paid. These are the things that we have to get done. And if we limit it and say, well, we're going at 11 and we haven't done that business, then we can't just put it off 2 weeks. So, and I think that limiting public comment per person is a fine idea. I don't know, I am not sure about limiting it for, a particular piece of time. Usually if there are 50 people in the audience and you have a sense that there are going to be a lot of people commenting, you can ask for a show of hands of people who are going to want to speak. And then you can gauge whether it's, 3 minutes is not an unreasonable time, and once everybody's had a chance to speak, and people can come back if they need to speak more, or they could go to the second public comment session or whatever. But I think we can work something out, but I don't think we can limit the length of the meeting itself.
I think it was the opinion of the majority of the policy committee that exactly that there were meetings when the chair should be able to limit the comment when, for example, it seems apparent that there are going to want to be 50 people who want to address an issue, but that by and large, it is the opinion of the policy committee that people have the right to yell at their elected officials, or not yell at their elected officials, but that there does need to be some measure of monitoring that under under extreme cases. And, and it wasn't just last year. Occasionally, there are issues in the district that bring people to board meetings. And we're not suggesting that people not speak. We're just suggesting that people limit their comments in these circumstances, in these specific circumstances, to 3 to 5 minutes. And in fact, I think we erred on the side of 5 minutes.
We did.
And it was only the 30 minutes. If you look at the audience and you can estimate that more than, for example, 6 or 7 people are going to want to speak in the first public session, well, that's 30 minutes. And so then, you're not limiting the total time of public comment. You're simply saying that I can see that there are going to be a great many public comments tonight, and so we are going to limit each comment to 5 minutes. That's all. You're not saying there's only an hour worth of public comment. You're saying, I can see that there are going to be a great many public comments tonight, so we're going to try to limit each speaker to 5 minutes.
Which means we have had instances when people write letters and it goes over the amount of time that is then voted on by the board. And I would like something that we have that says if you're gonna read a letter, you need to keep it to whatever minutes we have established. And I think that's fair. And if people don't want to do that, that's too bad. But a lot of boards make people sign up 2 days in advance if they're going to speak. I'm not suggesting we do that here in Highland Park. You were just at the delegate assembly, Darcy, right?
No.
You didn't go?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, if you had gone, what you would have seen that they do at the New Jersey School Board Delegate Assembly is that it's limited to 3 minutes, and at 3 minutes, a bell rings, and, the person has to stop.
Yes, I've seen that at the state board. I've seen that any number of places. I've seen other districts that have a red light and the red light goes off and your microphone goes off. But I don't know that that's what we need to do in a small district
I'm not saying
where
that we're going to do that, Darcy.
our friends and community members are walking up.
I understand, but I don't think we have to listen to a letter that goes on and on and on and on. I think that's not fair to the community.
I think most of this is discretionary, and I think that that's probably the most important part, is that it's, I don't think that this is something that any president wants to do in general. I actually have a question about the third paragraph, this public participation, the strike through. Why is this struck through? I mean, this is actually citing the bylaw that talks about the order of the meeting and the places at which public comment occurs. Is there any reason for that not to be still included in the policy?
Which one, Dan?
The third paragraph from the original policy, it's totally struck through. Public participation shall be permitted only.
Is it because maybe that's
No, 0164 is not
This
changed.
actually, the strike-throughs are Strauss-Esme strike-throughs. It's sometimes hard to figure out what it is that has sort of prompted the change.
So it's not a mandatory policy?
No.
So
No.
is there any reason for this paragraph to be struck through?
I have no idea. I can only guess that maybe because it's so restrictive, it's permitted only as indicated. I mean, it's limiting. Is it possible, or is it fair to say that a meeting cannot be run sort of arbitrarily, right? It has to follow the bylaw that tells you how to There's
run a
a
meeting?
little bit of arrangements that can be adjusted.
We
though.
occasionally will, we will occasionally allow public comment on an issue first if we have we have in fact
Yes.
changed the order of things on occasion, and so maybe that's what that strike through is. So that gives us the flexibility to change the order of things occasionally.
All right.
And we do.
Do we know, 0164 is another policy,
Bylaw, yeah.
right, that deals with public participation.
It's the order of the meeting, the one that we changed so that the committee reports go before the comment.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. Is it something we can look up?
Yeah.
Yeah, all it does is it changes the order of the meeting to what we do now, which is where the committee reports are before public comment.
Uh-huh, okay.
That's all. I mean, it is the policy, it's the bylaw that outlines what order our agenda is in.
It doesn't have anything to do with any of the pieces of it that we're
It
discussing.
just says that there is public
Yeah.
comment at various places.
And we moved that around this year, which was great,
Yeah.
I thought.
So it seems like this isn't really settled. 0167.
I mean, I think the majority of this board,
How do we know that?
I have a sense, I mean, it will, the vote will, the vote will determine the vote will determine where we go on this. But I'm going to recommend pushing it forward, at least for first reading, and any changes can be made at second reading. What is said tonight has no impact on on the final policy that's approved. It just needs to be read in name only. And that's what we're doing. All right, moving on. 0169. I should pay particular attention to that one. 0171. 6131. 2417.
Whoa, you mean 1631?
2431.4. 2468. 5200. 5305. 5306. 5308. 5310.
5310, the entire policy, I believe, is,
Struck. Except for
No.
And they
Never mind.
yeah, they just added everything back in with statute numbers.
Gotcha.
And paragraph, and page 2 is where it's pretty much struck.
53.
5339. 5512. 5530.
Okay, hold on, slow down.
Yep, sorry.
I'm actually using paper.
We are-
5530
we are
was
at
one.
5530.
Okay, this was where I had, there's a very minor issue with the way that on page 4, part B, the word "in accordance with NJAC" with the code modifies the wrong thing. So I'll read the policy as it stands right now. The principal or designee, upon receiving such report, shall immediately notify the parent and superintendent and shall arrange for an examination of the student as soon as possible to determine whether the student has been using anabolic steroids in accordance with the statute. It's probably not what we want to say. So the phrase "in accordance with that code" should be moved up after the word "student" in the third line.
All right, we'll show it to Linda.
Examination of the student in accordance with.
Yeah.
As soon as possible to determine.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you just put a comma before in accordance with?
You could put a comma there.
Do it.
That would work.
Do it.
As long as that is changed in some way.
Okay.
I have a much less funny correction to that policy. On the first page, the first sentence, "harmful substances," is just repeated twice.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Because they're really harmful.
Like, they're super harmful, and they're very substancy.
So you can make it funny.
I try.
5600. 5756.
This is the one that has the header that's incorrect.
Where does the header roll? It's not on mine.
30.
Oh.
I guess it was fixed prior to me printing this.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, did we move past 5530?
We did, but I may allow you to go back.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, Adam. I did have a question on page 7 of 12, the first sentence of the last paragraph. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, it's insignificant, but maybe not. With the strike through, it reads, "The superintendent or designee may disclose to law enforcement authorities the identity of a student suspected to be under the influence of alcohol." It used to read "may but need not." I kind of like leaving in the but need not. I don't know that we want to kind of imply with every infraction police, intervention is warranted. I like leaving in the but need not to just kind of make it clear that we're saying that for every incident with a student, the police does not have to factor in.
It means the same thing.
Yeah,
Right.
It does, but there's something about leaving that language in that I kind of like.
I literally think may means the exact same thing.
Well,
I do.
yes. That was actually one of the interesting thing I thought in, we talked about this the other day, like .02, it does define shall, will, must,
Yeah.
and, versus may.
This is all defined.
So may gives the prerogative, but, again, I said it was not necessarily that significant, but I liked leaving in the piece about, we don't always have to get the police involved.
I'm okay with that. I think it says it, but
I don't think it needs to be in there.
I believe.
I don't care, but
I don't care if it is. I believe strongly in what she just said, but what Darcy just said. But I think May says literally the exact same thing. To my comfort level. Okay. Well, I guess leave it as May. Okay.
So are we?
No. May. But I agree. Please definitely do not need to be called every time. 8465. 8601, I have comments on.
Wait, how did we get to 8? Did we, 5756, did we?
That was it, yeah.
Sorry, I had a
What was
question
it?
on that one.
Yep.
The last paragraph, 5756, is the transgender students policy. The second to last sentence in the last paragraph on the first page, it says, the board authorizes a superintendent or designee to question a student's asserted gender identity when there is a credible basis for believing the student's gender-related identity is being asserted in some improper purpose, or for some improper purpose. I think that's just a very strange thing to put in a policy. How is a superintendent going to determine why a student's gender-related identity? To me, that should just come out.
I think it's maybe to protect if say a boy is pretending he's a girl so that he can go into the girl's bathroom or something. That would be an inappropriate use of having that kind of gender identity.
I think that any administrator is going to be very lax to question a student's asserted gender identity to begin with. So I think that this is really, if there's something like that, which is really extreme, an extreme misrepresentation or an extreme misuse of this.
But that's not what this says.
It kind of does, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Being asserted for some improper purpose.
Decides to assert something that is not true for whatever reason.
But I think any students who are identified with gender-related identity issues, there's lots of talk throughout the policy about parental involvement and discussions between administrations and parents and students. To my knowledge, this is not something that students put on like a hat to.
Right, but if they
But they
do put
could.
on a hat, then the
Right.
superintendent can question why they're doing that. I think that's all. I think that's all it says.
But I think if we were going to get to the point where a superintendent was going to talk to a student about something that kind of.
Well, first of all, it would probably be designee, as in school nurse. It probably wouldn't be the superintendent making these inquisitions.
I am saying this is a very sensitive topic, and this is something that I would think that you would want to have parental involvement before you authorize. We as a board are authorizing a superintendent to talk to a child about their gender identity and their suppositions about a child's gender identity.
But again, I don't think that any superintendent who had half a brain would ever assert something like this to a student without A, first talking to the parent, and B, fully understanding the liability that they're putting themselves in.
But so why would we leave that sentence in a policy if we're saying that any superintendent with half a brain wouldn't do it?
It's not that they wouldn't do it, it's that they would
Notify.
make sure that all of their avenues were checked out, that their I's were dotted and that their T's were crossed. if you have to do it, you're going to do it. No administrator wants to do it. No administrator with half a brain would ever do it unless they had taken all the precautionary steps.
Right, but that doesn't say that they have to take all those precautionary steps. This just gives them the license to do it with our authorization. It says the board authorizes the superintendent to, not to talk to the parents first, not to take all these preventative steps first, or precautionary steps. It says we're going to let them do it.
So then maybe we just put something to preface that.
Yeah,
toward
I
what
guess
you just
there's
said.
also the issue of needing to trust our administrators. I mean, we have policies that protect our administrators, because this can become a civil rights issue. But high school students have been known to do stupid things.
What caveat would you like to put in there?
My thought was that it could just come out.
It can't come out.
I don't think it should come out. But I think that if you're concerned about an abuse issue, then I think that we should craft language to put in something that's going to make this not, that someone's just going to go out and question people's gender identities.
Well, I mean, because that's what it says, to question a student's asserted gender identity.
Whether it's being asserted for some improper purpose.
Right. You have to read that last part.
When there is credible basis for believing the student's gender-related identity is being asserted, but...
Yeah, that's what it says.
It's just very...
It's not that the superintendent's going to walk
It's-
around and question people's gender identities. It's that if there is this belief, so this belief has to be formed in some way. So if you want to put in language that's going to make sure that the administrator or the superintendent or designee is going to take certain steps before doing that, then we can do that. So we should talk about doing that.
Okay, yeah.
So what kinds of things, Mr. Soto, what types of things do you think that a superintendent or designee should do before questioning a student's asserted gender identity if they believe that there's a credible basis for the fact that it's being used improperly?
There are multiple steps to put into place before I even have that conversation with a child. Number one, you notify the parent, have that conversation. You have a school nurse, you have guidance counselors, you have teachers that can all come together and give you a better picture of what's going on before you even make a decision. I noticed also that it says the superintendent or designee. That designee might very well be a school nurse, the school psychologist.
So then if we're going to add something to this mandatory policy, right, which is a set of steps that administration or should take.
It's not mandatory,
Right.
though.
What's that?
It's not mandatory.
It is.
Oh, actually, this thing.
My copy says it doesn't say
no, you know
mandatory.
what? My header, the substance abuse header, is wrong. Okay. So if we're going to add something to this, right, with the steps.
Based on this following, the sentence that follows that sentence, it is almost redundant. Just the fact that pursuing it is redundant, because in order to recognize, there has to be confirmation anyway. So by removing it, you almost lose nothing. Just
say that again.
By removing that particular sentence,
Well, we're not
the
talking about
policy
removing it now. We're talking about adding to it to flesh it out.
Well, no, I'm going back to your original piece of removing it. The sentence that follows that specific sentence, confirmation of a student's asserted gender must include a letter from a parent or the adult, blah, 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 blah. It basically makes that redundant. I.e., you're not going to have an opportunity to assert that gender unless the process has been followed. So what I'm saying, Darcy, is you can remove that sentence and lose nothing, none of the intent of the policy.
Yeah, but what you lose is the improper purpose part. And I mean, I guess that's the part that just...
No, I'm saying striking it. I'm just saying striking
No,
it.
but that's what you
lose. But the
lose.
intent of the... Right. But, well, I don't even think you lose that, because that what I'm saying is the following sentence implies that the only way you can assert that is by following a process to have that identity recognized.
Right. And I mean, I guess the thing that I think is missing too is, do we even have anybody in the district who's been trained or is certified? Like, I don't, I mean, before we adopt this policy, I would like to know that we've spoken to some of the families in the community who are dealing with these issues, and get their feedback.
Oh, wait a minute, but if you continue reading, it
says the board recognizes that school-related issues regarding transgender students will vary on a case-to-case basis. Therefore, the superintendent of schools or designee will meet with the parent and student to discuss school-related issues.
This is a
Right. Well, but that's about using the names and pronouns. That's not about the improper part. That's about this student has been identified and how are we going to handle that in this very, functional, clear-cut kind of way. That the other part that I'm addressing is, kind of what Claire was saying. I mean, I don't know if that's, the
don't
best
think-
example, but
I think everything you are addressing is in this policy. I think it protects both the students and the district, and I would push this forward tonight. I think, as you said, Dan, that any reasonable superintendent would obey by this policy and a number of other policies that we have about contacting students and how we interact with families in this district. It is not only this policy that we follow. As Ann said, kids do stupid things. I know. I was in this, district. Some of us do stupid things. You never know what is going to happen.
So I would say this is not a mandatory policy.
Yeah.
I think that there are questions on it. We should figure out what the answers to the questions are.
Okay.
We should table it, and we should just bring it up again in the future. This is not required for CUSAC. And I think that there are probably other districts who have gone through this, or other boards that have gone through the discussion of how to make sure that this notification happens and all these steps are there, so we can look at procedures that are followed by other boards.
And in the meantime, there is a policy in place now, right?
Turn your mic on. Your mic's off.
There is a policy in place now. We have so it continues to be in effect while we discuss this next policy. So it's on there.
So Linda, we're gonna table 5756.
Yeah, because it actually is.
8465 and 8601 I have comments on. We're missing a number of options.
Yeah, I think we need to table this policy also.
Okay, this has to go to you. Who has 81? Who has the 8s?
They get split up.
The pupil supervision after school. That should go to curriculum. Yeah. Claire?
What?
This policy is going to go to the curriculum committee.
8601?
8601.
Okay.
Whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, there's far too many things that are not known in this policy.
Yep. Okay, that is all of the first readings. I am not going through the second readings. If anybody has any changes to the second readings, please let me know.
Does anybody have any comments on policies for second reading?
Okay. That concludes the policy committee report.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, and I should also want to thank Claire and Ann in particular, and the respective committees for bringing all these policies through. Thank you for doing it in such a speedy way. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments. When you come up to the stand, please state your name and your address and sign in on the ledger, please.
Kim Crane, I need heels. Kim Crane, HPEA president. I'm very pleased to report that really the only item I have for this evening is the scheduling task force for Bartle and Irving. We are making incredible progress, and we are looking forward to a scheduling change at board approval, superintendent approval, staff approval, in January. We will have our final proposal on the superintendent's desk either the first week or second week of December. Our goals of our committee were to go back to having specialists anchored in their buildings, so specialists could give full attention to each building if travel is necessary, limiting travel so it's not consistent travel with specialists. We're also looking at reducing the class size so one teacher would not have more than one class. This is something that we've never had this before. We've never had the situation we have now before. So we're looking forward to going back to the status quo of having our one class with one specialist. We're looking forward to whole school enrichment and true common planning time, meaning that teachers would have one period a week to meet, and during that period their students would be getting whole school enrichment. The wonderful thing about whole school enrichment is that it can be tailored to the needs of the students, to the needs of the district, to what is trending at the time. And this is time that's available in our curriculum to implement anything new that we would like to, or programs that are older that we've had great success with. So we are very excited. I can't wait. It will be a relief to go back to providing our children with the education that they had that we feel was exceptional before. And we really will not accept anything less than providing our students with exceptional education. So thank you to Mr. Soto, to Mr. Benjamin, who's been at all the meetings, to Linda Moran, to Barb Shimon. They have been incredibly helpful in helping us put this together. It was a lot of work, and we look forward to presenting it to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Reese Richardson, 227 Benner Street. So I wanted to let the board know, to inform you all that we've established a new organization in Highland Park. We have the Highland Park Parents of Students of Color organization. We met for the first time on November the 1st. I know that it's been a difficult thing sometimes for the board to be able to reach out to the minority community here in Highland Park, to be able to gauge their opinions, their needs, their desires for the education of their children. And so we have established this organization as a way of coming together both to provide support to one another as minorities, but also to build bridges. So part of the purpose of our organization is that we're seeking to promote an atmosphere of academic achievement, mutual respect, acceptance and empowerment, while building a greater sense of community for our students of color within the full spectrum of the life and activities of Highland Park schools. I won't, in our mission statement, we do mention past hurts. We will move beyond those at this point. I also mentioned that our current superintendent, Mr. Soto, has been very open to having discussions and has expressed an interest in and a commitment to working to improve many of the areas that parents of color are very concerned about, or I should say parents of students of color, because the parents are all different colors. We have parents who have adopted children, we have blended marriages, we have people who are from all sorts of backgrounds. And so we're representing the interests of the children that are in our care. But one of the things we want to be able to do is to build a bridge, to open a dialogue with the board, with the administration of the schools, with the teachers. Some of the teachers have reached out already, offering their assistance and wanting to be involved in the process. And we also hope to, by the time we get to January, have it be part of a larger umbrella organization interested in social justice issues generally, and wanting to work on issues of social justice in Highland Park as a whole. So we do have a meeting coming up on December 3rd, but in January you will receive a formal invitation to come and participate in a meeting once we get the date set around all the 50,000 different activities happening. Unfortunately, December 3rd is also the middle school orchestra concert, so I'm missing my daughter's concert that night. One of us will be there at the concert, and one of us will be at the meeting. But it'll be 7 o'clock at the Senior Youth Center. And so we're trying to have different locations, different sections of town, so that we can get the best participation.
Thank you so much, Sharice.
I have a question. Can I ask a question? Are you in charge of this group?
I'm just one of the several parents who's convening. Yes, it's myself, Carla Gee, who has one who already graduated from the high school, and then she has two, one in the high school and one in the middle school. And then there are a few. We were the original two people. We're neighbors. Both live on Benner Street.
Yeah.
But now we have fuller participation. We're trying to do it more as a collective. We don't want it to be I'm in charge. So each of us is speaking at a different event this week and telling people about the organization.
Sure. So just a quick comment and/or question. You may have already done this, but in talking to some council members, the mayor was actually looking to put together a similar structure. So it would be great if we could also utilize the resources of the mayor and the council. I don't know if you've done that yet, but I would highly recommend it.
We haven't reached out to the mayor and the council. I've been in touch with the Democratic Party chairman for Highland Park and NAACP, the Morgans, and we've talked with them. There's definitely interest from the council based on conversations some of the members of the organization have had with different council members. So right now we're focusing mostly on school issues, but obviously our issues expand beyond the schools. And so that will inevitably happen as we move forward.
Great.
Thank you.
I have a quick procedural question. When we do reorg in January, we nominate we nominate board members to lots of different.
Should we talk about this in new business, or?
We could do that. Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharice.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Rosner, and my address is 22 Harrison Avenue. I'm here this evening before you because I'm deeply disappointed in what I am experiencing as a parent at the Irving Primary School. It is indeed the heart of the community for families with small children. The issue at hand is an issue of communication. There is now a history of failed communication. I will start at the very beginning of the school year. I spoke here on the first day of school, asking you to please look into the dismissal, as I could see from day one that the system was very broken and made dismissal, in fact, more dangerous than it ever had been. Parents sent emails and letters, some called the school, some screamed at the front doors for many weeks after school started. There was no response, not from the principal, the superintendent, the board. Not until maybe, what was it, the 6th, 8th child was released to no adult. I met with both the principal and the superintendent. I invited both to join me at dismissal, as I could easily point out to them the problems from where I stand in line. No one showed up. No one came and stood in line with me. Standing inside the building, looking out, is not the same. The issues were not caught by looking out the door, okay? Children were being released to no one. And it was the parents who helped these children out. It was the parents who did the right thing and kept the children safe. The missing element was that parents had not been included in the process. The last time dismissal was changed, the police department, paras, teachers, parents, and the principal sat down together to figure out a safe plan many months before the change occurred. Who sat down together before introducing the new dismissal this time? I don't think anyone did. I met with the principal. She met with her secretary. That's all. Nobody sent a school-wide email asking for anyone else to participate in this process. Parents are active participants in the dismissal process at Irving. Without us, it obviously would not work. I think it's really important to note that this is new, and someone's new in our district. She's changing things. That's fine. I don't think any of us were opposed to change, but when it wasn't working out, we were not listened to. There were other concerns that arose on the first day of school and in the weeks prior. Will parents be allowed to escort their children to their classrooms on the first day of school? This was communicated to the Irving community in a manner which left all of us uncertain as to what was going to happen. What did happen was a big mess. Kindergarten parents were herded into the gym. They were in a crowded and noisy condition. They said goodbye to their children in the gym. They were not allowed to say goodbye to their children in their classrooms. This is an important thing to note. A lot of our kindergartners do not use the pre-K program. This is their very first time entering this building. They were not allowed in the building prior to the first day of school. A lot of kids have anxiety about these things. When I was in kindergarten, I went to my school with my mother the week before school and met my teacher and saw my classroom. That was 40 years ago. I don't know why this can't happen if we're not going to allow parents in on the first day. So what happened? Teachers juggled countless bags of school supplies as all the kids brought them in, as they were supposed to, as they then led their classes up to their classrooms. They could not talk to the children. They could not even manage what they had in their hands. I was told by the principal that the building was not ready for parents and new students to visit before the first day of school, as would have been preferred. I was also told that parents are not to walk the hallways of the school because it is simply not safe. So instead, let's herd everyone into the gym and create mass chaos. That is a great way to start the first day of school. So let's be safe. Let's put all kindergartners, kindergarten teachers, and their parents in one room. If someone did have a gun, everybody's going. I'm sorry. I don't understand how this is safer. I realize that that is very unlikely. But all the fuss over safety, and in my eyes, it was much less safe and certainly more stressful for all involved. The morning meeting. Come on down to Irving School, learn about the responsive classroom, come be our special guest at the morning meeting. This, unfortunately, was a disappointment from start to finish. As I already stated, I was told when I met with the principal that there was no need for parents to be roaming in the school hallways. It is simply unsafe and cannot happen. Parents would be welcomed into the school to learn about what happens in the child's classroom by attending a morning meeting. It would be held in the gym. Parents enter the building through the gym doors and exit through the gym doors. Your child's class will come to you. This is the only way to do it safely. I would like to share with you that going to the gym is not the same as going to my child's classroom. There was no connection made with my child at all. I saw none of his artwork on the wall, which he always points out to me if I do go to the classroom, as he's very proud. His teacher never addressed myself or the other parents. No information about my child's classroom was revealed to me. I did not see the face of the new friend he made, as he was not able to point anyone out because we did not interact. I sat from a distance and watched my child's class stand up and sing happy birthday in sing-along style with everyone in the gym. I was invited by the principal to go see the lovely family tree while I was at the morning meeting. This presented one small problem for me. I was only allowed in the gym, and the family tree is in the front hall of the school. I guess that is a small logistical issue that was overlooked. It also seems that entering the building only through the gym presents another problem, Every parent who shows up late has no choice but to walk right into the performance or meeting as it is going on. And unfortunately, for a lot of parents are scrambling on these mornings. They've gone to work, they're trying to park. It's not uncommon that people come late. Every single time someone was late, they interrupted what was happening and had to walk through all the teachers, all the students. But for me, the most disappointing thing is that I went to this to learn about the responsive classroom. I stand here today uneducated about the responsive classroom. I understand there is a bell that rings, and then there is a circle time, a morning meeting where the children share. The only thing new here is the ringing of the bell. Every one of my children's teachers at Irving have done a morning circle for the last 7 years. It is now November. I went to back to school night and the morning meeting, and that is all I can tell you about the responsive classroom curriculum. Halloween was a happy day. I did get to see my child in his classroom. I got to walk the halls. I got to see all the bulletin boards. I got to see the Irving family tree. To my knowledge, parents conducted themselves properly while walking the halls. I will let parents with multiple children in the school building address the complications of every party happening at exactly the same time, which is another new policy. So now it's the playground. You say it's for safety, but I beg to differ. Did you know that one of the gates on the playground has been broken for over 7 years? That it does not shut properly? And do you know who fixed that gate? Mark Botian went there one Saturday morning and fixed that gate because his son was in pre-K and he wanted it safe for him. I'll let you think about that. It worked for a few months. It broke again. I see parents stepping up and protecting children. I'm getting one loud message from Irving School, and it is that parents are not welcome. I don't understand what is happening. I'm not feeling like we're being listened to. I am not just one person. There are many parents who feel this way, and I think as a board you should be aware of this. I've listed quite a few reasons why I'm feeling this way. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the principal. I'm disappointed, Mr. Soto. I met with you. I met with the principal. I thought I conducted myself nicely. I wanted to be helpful. Neither of you followed through with your word after our meetings. My words to you are that I do not feel the love. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. You can respond if you like.
Hi, Rob Rosner, 22 Harrison Avenue. And I had some notes prepared that I left at home, so I tried to scratch them down, so I'm going to try to go through my memory here, and it's a little bit confusing. And I have, first, before I hit my remarks, and my remarks was exclusively about the decision on the Irving School playground. But there was a notice that came out today saying there's a meeting next Monday at times I can't get to because it's during work, where there's going to be a Q&A. So, but I took that to mean, is the policy then under review? Could it be changed, or is it's going to happen as the notice that came out said, by the first, the playground will be closed? So let me ask that question first, and then I'll continue with my remarks.
Before implementing that decision, we wanted to give parents the opportunity to get feedback from you. I know we've been receiving several emails. I want you to know that we're listening, and just out of respect to the community, want you to give you that opportunity to give us additional insight that we might not have known. So that's a perfect time. If you cannot make it to the meeting, I'm more than available to talk to you over the phone. And we can discuss this further. But to this point, we're going to remain with the decision. And let's see what happens after that, the Q&A.
Okay, so I'll go on with my remarks then. The decision angers and offends me, first of all. And my emotions are a little high over it, so if my jersey shows a little bit tonight, I apologize in advance. And I want to say also that I appreciate all of you and all of your time, because I know you're dedicated people, and I think you're trying to do what you think is right for the community. So when I'm attacking the decision, I'm attacking the decision. I'm not attacking anyone individually or personally. Let me just state that for the record so you have that in your mind. And I also want to start out by saying, as a taxpayer in town, we pay enormous taxes, it's a strain on a lot of us, and including everybody's taxes, we're paying, for those of you who are employees, we're basically paying your salary, which then means, in some ways, we're your boss. And in another way, we're the consumers of what you're doing. So as your boss and as your consumer, we want to be happy. So my wife's comments sort of spoke to that a little bit, but I want to say it again. I don't feel like you're listening to your consumers, and I don't feel like you're listening to the people who are paying your salaries, especially for those who are your employees. And I think what you really need to consider is what we're giving up is a hugely important thing. Mr. Soto, I saw the footage or the tape of the meeting on the 20th, I believe, of October, in which you even said that you're into community building. That is a critically important time for the community of Irving. And after school, the kids need to let off steam. The parents need to talk to each other. I think by just simply doing away with it, you're cutting into that community in a big way, and you need to realize that. And I think the justification for why you're doing it makes no sense at all. Safety was the reason I understood from the meeting that was the prime decision for getting rid of the playground being open to students after school. And by the way, it's their own playground after school. If all of you went to elementary school and you couldn't play on your playground afterwards, that's just kind of nuts. But anyway, but back to the safety issue. There are lots of parents standing around, lots of eyes on the playground. There's two different ways that safety can be an issue. One is that you're afraid someone's going to be abducted, and I think either the word abducting or kidnapping was used at the October meeting. With all those parents standing around, that is just simply not really that realistic at all, and I don't think that's ever going to, I don't think that would ever be an issue. And the other thing, the way that safety can be an issue is that kids fall off of a play equipment. Now that's just inherent in a playground, and we're not going to do away with playgrounds because you can get hurt on them. But there's ways to mitigate safety problems and safety concerns. One is you could put up some rules, and has that been considered? And as far as the safety goes, have you actually talked to anyone who has experience in the safety field, or have you consulted your lawyer? Is doing away with something that's a critically important time the only way to mitigate the risks that you might think are there, which I don't think are there? So those are some questions I'm just posing. And again, I'm sorry I'm going through my notes here. And I have to say, I'm an attorney, and I work for a large institution that has a lot of public property. And the fear that people are going to litigate and someone's going to get hurt and the school board's going to take the hit, that is overstated. There are public reports out there from bodies that will claim that's overstated. And the New Jersey Tort Claims Act is going to protect the district. The fact that the playground is relatively well maintained is going to protect the district. People, I think it's just an overreaction that someone's going to sue. Oh my gosh, someone's going to sue. There are ways to mitigate that risk, as I said before. There's insurance. There's other tools that you can use. Again, just doing away with it, I think, is a terrible idea. The thing that offends me the most, and this gets back to one of the public comments at that October meeting, the paraprofessional basically got up and stood there and said, people aren't going to understand if we close the playground at 3:30 that they have to leave. Now, I'm not trying to get in the way of the fact that you have a legitimate after-school program and those kids need to come out and play. That's fine. We get that. But I think if the kids coming after, like the kids who are dismissed from school, want to play for 30 minutes, they should be able to do that. And if the rule is we'll close the playground at 3:30, everybody's got to leave, that's easy for us to understand. Don't tell me that I'm not going to be able to understand that. That's offensive to my intelligence. And the other thing I just want to mention is that since 2007, when we had kids in that school, they've been playing on the playground after school for a little while, and it's never really been an issue. There's no real safety concerns. So that's probably enough rambling. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rob.
I do have to say that I agree that it is a really important time at Irving, and I used to spend a lot of time there with my kid after school. And I was really swayed by hearing about some of the things that have happened at the playground. And it makes me really sad because I think kids should get to play at the playground for sure after school, but not if there's parents that aren't actually watching their kids. And a kid was peeing outside on the, when he shouldn't have been. It wasn't a kid in the after-school
Claire, we can
program.
talk about this in old business.
Hi, I'm Carla Draper, 126 Amherst Street. I'm the paraprofessional who spoke at the last meeting. I'm also a parent of 4 children who are either in this district now or who have gone through our school system. I understand. I'm a little offended by the way you just spoke about me. The decision is 100% when it comes to after school, the safety of the children. Has nothing to do with...
Excuse me.
It has nothing
Liz,
to
please.
do with the gates. It has to do with we come outside, we're watching the gates. We have to do it during the school day. We watch the gates all the time. We're aware of it. But when we bring 80 children out, and there are so many people out there already, it is hard. We do our best, but we get it. We have tailored our schedule to accommodate parents bringing their children there. That's why we don't come out at 3:30, not because we're not ready, because we get it. Last year it was 4 o'clock. Sometimes the kids weren't getting outside. The after-school children program paid to be on that playground. And we are paid to keep them safe and to let them have fun. I understand if there was a way we could solve this, and it's not true that everybody leaves. It is not true. It has been an ongoing issue where we have to ask people to leave. Some people leave, some people do not leave. I'm just speaking for after school, and that's all I can say, is that is why we really wanted to have the playground closed. If you would like to, I get it, if we can come to some sort of understanding, but it's not just the parents of kids coming on to Irving. It's an ongoing issue of other people coming in.
No.
I don't have anything else to say, but it is a two-way street. And sometimes you have to respect that sometimes we know what we're doing, or we're doing it because we care.
Thank you, Carla. And I will say also, just to sort of follow up, there is a meeting that will take place next Monday where you can actually have this conversation with Ms. Wizanski and Mr. Soto, and in a much more sort of interactive forum. So please, save your comments if you'd like for that meeting, or feel free again to speak publicly here and now.
Melissa Newman, 215 Montgomery Street. Why don't we do a compromise of creating like a mini aftercare program or something that just goes from like 2:30 to 3:30, and people have to pre-register for it so the parent knows exactly who's going to be on the playground. And if parent doesn't follow the rules of leaving by 3:30, then they're kicked out of the program and they can't play in the playground after school. Then it solves the problem for the parents, because it allows them to play on the playground for a designated period. And it also solves the problem for the paras, because they have some sort of punishment that they can implement if the parents don't follow the rules of leaving by 3:30. And I'd also like to say, when we're taking this into consideration, that you also have parents that do double pickup. Like, we'll have a toddler, we'll have a kid at Bartle, we'll have a kid at Irving, and that toddler's being dragged from Bartle to Irving, et cetera, and that's hard. And they also need to let off steam and to do things, especially even during that 2:30 to 3 o'clock time where Bartle's out and Irving's not ready to let the kids out. And the second thing I wanted to say was about the public comment. When you're talking about limiting it to 5 minutes, I understand. But when you start saying the maximum you can talk in public comment is 30 minutes, there's going to be times where there are issues where different parents are going to say different perspectives of an issue, and I don't think you can do that realistically, especially when, if I were, for example, to send an email, sometimes it might get a response, but other times it might just be 76 people sent emails to the board on a variety of issues. and there's no real record of what exactly was said and what the positions were. How many parents wrote an email saying they want the Irving playground closed? How many parents sent an email saying they wanted the Irving playground open? We don't have those numbers, even if all of us just decided to send you an email and not stand here and say public comment. Would that go in the official record? So that's all.
Thank you.
Yep.
State your name, Amy.
Hi.
Wait, and your address, and write your
All right.
sign in the ledger.
Hi, I'm Amy Jacobs Seville. I live at 235 Valentine Street. I have two kids who are in the kindergarten at Irving School, and I've never done this before because my husband works nights, so it's very hard for me to get here. I'm sorry I got here so late, but I was trying to hook up babysitting. Anyway, I'm one of the parents, along with Liz and some other folks here, who use the playground right after school. We pick the kids up at 3. We run out to the playground. The kids explode onto the playground with all the pent-up energy they have from sitting, in class all day. And it's really a fabulous time of day for us. So I think that's why we feel kind of emotional about it, because Highland Park, everybody here knows that Highland Park is pretty special. And I think if you want to know why it's special, if you come to the playground at that time of day and you see the kids forging the friendships they're going to have the rest of their lives, and the parents hanging out with one another, forging those same friendships, it's like we get to know each other's kids, the kids know us, we foster this community where people are really interconnected and close, and it's important, it's kind of sacred to us, and it's why we stay here and pay exorbitant property taxes, even though a lot of us can barely afford it. So I was really sorry to learn about the problems the after-school program was having, because I, like Liz, when the kids come out, normally we're gathering the kids and being like, it's time to go, let's go. So we didn't really know that there were problems because nobody told us, nobody communicated with us that there was a problem, because I would like you to know that I would help you with that problem. Like, if there are people being unruly on the playground, I'm a parent. Like, nobody cares about the safety of those kids more than me or their parents. I'll go kick unruly teenagers off the playground. I'll go ask people to comply with whatever policy this board sets so that we can preserve that time that's so important to all of us. I just want to say that I'm still not clear on the nature of the problem, because I've heard that it's parents and parents won't leave, and I too find that a little offensive because I am a parent. And of course, if I can abide a policy that says don't use the playground, I can abide a policy that says don't use the playground after 3:30. So I don't think that we, like those parents who are there to support the school, are the problem, but I'm not sure, because sometimes it said, well, parents have left a kid here and gone to Quick Check, parents have done this, and then it said, it's not parents, it's people from outside of Irving. But those people don't get our policies. Like, they don't get the memo. They're not told, so unless we're going to lock the gates, they're going to come on the playground, and you're going to have to kick them out anyway. So this policy doesn't really address that issue, so I'm not clear what this policy is trying to do other than get rid of parents, which, coming on the heels of the dismissal issue at the beginning of the year, where we were told the building's safer because parents aren't here, aren't coming inside, it really does start to feel like, we're seen as a threat, which I know is not how the board feels. I know that that's not really the intent, but that's how it comes across. And I think that's why people get emotional and angry. So I just want to say, I think in this situation, if we had tried to do something like say, hey, let's tell parents 3:30 cutoff time, and I know other districts, they'll even have the after-school kids out there with other kids and parents, and it's not an issue. So I'm not sure why, but I'm not even saying we should do that. I'm saying, can we just say, look, 3:30 cutoff, or whatever time it needs to be, because what we don't want to do is deny after-school kids who are at school until 6 o'clock any time on the playground. So the fact that you're altering that schedule because of that is news to all of us. We would never want that. We would never want any kid in that school to be denied playground time. We would want them out there at 3:05 if you could get them out there. Nobody wants to deny kids anything, and nobody wants kids to not be safe. We want to help you solve the problem. We don't want to be seen as the problem. That's all, and that's why the emotions are high. So I just want to say, I want to help. I want to be able to use that playground. I want to help the after-school kids. Those kids, their parents are my friends. They are friends of my kids. Like, I care about them as well. So I don't want to create problems. I just want to help solve them, and I want to be treated as part of a solution and not something to be gotten rid of. That's all. And I know that that's not the intent, but that's how it comes across when you say things like, people won't understand, or people won't listen, or they won't comply. And I get that, because I know that people can be this is Highland Park. Like, people can be pretty stubborn. People can say, hey. But I do think that people really do want to help with this problem, and we just want to preserve that part of that day. That day on the playground, that time that they spend there is the best part of their day every day. So that's why we're just trying to advocate to reconsider. And if maybe going forward, if you had said, hey, 3:30, everybody has to leave, you create some buy-in. You help us solve the problem with you, and you create buy-in instead of deal with backlash. And it'd be great going forward if we could think, how do we create buy-in from the community for these policies so we don't have to deal with all this backlash of people coming up and being upset. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. By the way, I really appreciate this conversation, and I want everyone to know. We invite parents to the schools. We don't want you to feel that you're not wanted. And if that's the message, certainly I apologize. That is not the message that we want to convey to the community. We know this is not this type of community. I've often discussed the importance of you continuing to be engaged, and you are. So if you have that feeling, I'm the first one to apologize. That is not our intent. Secondly, I don't want anyone to feel that kids are being denied playtime. We have scheduled time for kids to go outside and to play, and those are wonderful, memorable moments in their lives also. What we're saying is, what can we do together to afford not only the kids but the parents a safety haven that we know that the kids are safe? The decision was made not in a vacuum. I've had extensive discussions with school personnel regarding the hard work that they've been engaged in. It is very difficult to supervise. We have, 200-300 kids in Irving? I'm not sure. Well, case in point, and at any given time, 200 to 300 people outside, very difficult to manage. We have some kids that are running all over the place, and we have some that are very controlled. We have parents that cooperate and abide by certain rules, and we have others that give the parents and the administrators difficulties. So those are areas that we need to polish up a little bit. So that is why you're given the opportunity to have a conversation with us, and we will consider other alternatives. But right now, the main thrust for everyone to really understand, this is not about not having you engaged in the school. This is all about the safety of our children. Because if something were to happen, and you might say no, but I can guarantee you that if something were to happen to a child, because those children or that particular kid was not well supervised, we'll be having a different conversation. So before we get to that point, you'll be given that opportunity on the 24th, and we look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
And then I'll just follow up also with that, just and say that there's been commentary about board policies. This is not related to a board policy. This is an administrative decision.
But
this was taken under consultation with the teachers, the paras, made by the Irving School principal with consultation by Mr. Soto. So the remedy for this, if you're looking for the idea of a remedy, is to have this conversation with the leadership of the building and with the leadership of the district and discuss, potential ways that this can be remedied moving forward.
Dan, I don't know if you read the letter. The letter that went home did say that it was the board.
There's a board policy?
Yes, that's what the letter was. The letter that was sent from the principal said.
The first letter said that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Soto, please speak with
there's a
Ms.
reason the
Wysocki.
parents came here. It said it was the decision of the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me correct the record that it has nothing to do with a board policy or a board decision that was voted on by the board, etc.
The board was
consulted. This is a
It was
building
consulted,
leadership
but it was said it was
discussion.
going to come back. So
Yes.
I have to say, I was a bit taken aback by the letter myself.
Kim?
Kim Crane, HBA president. That was a perfect segue into what I was going to say, because I was not aware that there was a board policy, so that cleared that up. However, I would like to mention that the association was not involved in the conversation of the closing of the Irving Playground. We were aware that there were issues. However, we were not involved in the decision making. So what I would suggest, I'm really glad to hear that it's not a policy. What I would suggest is that Mr. Soto, actually, we can handle it with Ms. W., with the principal. We can have an outline made of the issues that we're seeing and have a conversation so parents understand, because clearly there are issues that was not aware of. Some I was, some we were not. but I'd like to suggest that we further the conversation with Ms. W. so parents are made aware of what the issues are and are given the opportunity to assist with solutions. And that may or may not result in the closing of the playground, but at least the community would feel as if they were involved in the process and understand. I think what was lacking here was the conversation. That's my suggestion. So we're happy to help facilitate the conversation.
Thank you, Kim. And that is why we're meeting on the 24th. And by the way, the same way that we have parents tonight sharing their perspective, and certainly we respect your perspective, we have a number of parents that have emailed us saying that they agree. So clearly this is an issue that, people have different opinions. And so you will have your time on the 24th to really deepen the conversation moving forward. Thank you, Kim.
Is there any other public comment? Okay. Claire, could we have... Where's Claire?
She's coming.
She's coming?
Yep.
Claire, we would like to have the curriculum items moved, please.
Okay. I would like to move items 1 through 4 on the agenda.
Is there a second?
I think there's are you tabling?
She did. That was
Yeah.
5.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion on the curriculum items?
Ms. Versa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Ms. Simirosti?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Wharton?
Yes.
Catherine?
I'd like to move items 1 through 10 on the finance agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Linda?
Ms. Versa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Ms. Simirosti?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Wharton?
Yes.
Anne?
I'd like to move items 1 through 4 on the agenda, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Linda?
Ms. Versa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Ms. Simirosti?
Yes, 1 through 3, abstain on 4.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Wharton?
Yes.
Adam?
I'd like to move items 1 through 2, excluding policy 8601 in item 1 and 5756 in item 1.
Item 2.
No,
one.
in one also.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I do want to point out that just tonight, we had 2 people speak, and they spoke for over 5 minutes. And I know people thought, oh, that would never happen, but I will point that out. So I think it's not a bad idea to have a limitation.
But the limitation wouldn't be for every meeting. It would only be if the president says so at the beginning of the meeting. It wouldn't be just a blanket 5 minutes.
That's
Even the policy isn't stating that. So if that limitation isn't put on it, then a member of the public is welcome to speak for more than 5 minutes.
She's
pointing it
advocating.
out. I'm saying that it is possible that people would speak longer than 5 minutes.
But I don't think the policy is to get people to stop speaking for more than 5 minutes. The policy is to, if we think there's going to be inordinate amounts of public comment, to stop there from being inordinate amount of public comment. It's not to limit individual comments
It's
on
also
a
not,
meeting-to-meeting
by the
basis.
way, it's also not to limit total public comment to 30 minutes. That's not
just
what
like
the
a weird
policy says.
gauge. I'm sorry.
That's just gauging.
That was my commentary.
Yeah.
Weird was my commentary.
I mean,
It's just
if
a
you
gauge.
if you read the policy, it's all about administrative prerogative from how they interact with the public. It's all the discretion.
So can I ask a procedural question? How can I vote for the policies and not vote for 0167?
Just vote no on 0167.
Yeah. So you'll say yes to all, no to 0167.
Okay.
Is there any other
Hold on,
discussion?
Claire, and there will be plenty of time for you to make edits to it.
I understand
Yeah, yeah.
that.
I'm just
You've
letting
made
you know.
that very clear. I'm still voting
That's
against
fine.
it.
Yep.
Linda?
Ms. Versa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes to all except no on 0167.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Mr. Marusti?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Sherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Warden?
Yes.
For the president's report, I just want to talk about one item, which is the launch of the Highland Park Public Schools Facebook page. And this has really been, I think it's great already. There are about 200 people who have liked the page, and I think it's already been, shown itself to be a very good repository for information about events that are going on in the district and the other kinds of things that people might be interested in. I want to thank especially Chris Brzezowski and Israel and Saskia Marina, who have been meeting about all of the communications things since the board approved Saskia's position 2 weeks ago. Not only with the Facebook page, which we have a few administrators of, but with the website redesign. And this is a project that the district's going to be undertaking. I spoke with Chris, and I've spoken with Israel and with Saskia about the meeting that they've had, about looking at other districts' websites, looking at how policies can be put out in a way that's is comprehensible for folks, that other information, that other submissions and other things that are being put out into the community are being handled. And so far, it's been a great collaboration, and I'm very pleased that Israel has taken the leadership on this, and I want to thank you for that, and all the direction that you've given to Chris and to Saskia about these kinds of things has been great. I very much look forward to the website information that's coming up soon. We're going to get a presentation on that at some point soon. Yeah, soon. Okay. So yeah, I want to just stress that I think it's been wonderful, and I look forward to more communication coming out from the district. So again, thank you, Israel.
Yes.
Can I tag on to that quickly? Since, it's the committee is personnel and communication, it seems like this stuff should be coming through that committee. Like, this is something that should be being reported out to that committee.
I think if you are interested in having information, you can certainly talk to Israel about that, and
But,
the committee can certainly get that information to you.
I mean, it seems like it should be part of that committee, that the committee should be part of those discussions.
Well, I mean, this is a district website, right? District website, I think the administration really is responsible for the content more than anything. So I think the superintendent dictating the commentary, or the content rather, of the website, I think is the right way to go. But I also think that information that's being evaluated, things like the website, which has to do with costs and other kinds of things, I think that's absolutely appropriate for the committee. So I would say that, Israel, you can certainly be forthcoming with all the communication information that you've had, the conversations with Chris and with Saskia about those kinds of things. Absolutely. Is there any old business?
Yes, I just want to say that I feel hopeful, perhaps, that after this meeting, there might be a way to manage the Irving School playground issue. I remember the main issue before was who is in charge, and if the parent doesn't leave, what do you do? So the parents that don't leave, I don't think are the ones coming to the meeting and being upset. But I don't know that it's the paraprofessional's responsibility to enforce a parent to leave or to call the police or something like that. So I think that was the concern. And I'm just hopeful that maybe some solution can be worked out.
I agree, and I think I just wanted to add, just while we're speaking of that too, that this situation came to us, from the staff and from the schools, and we're just, at least for me, we're just acknowledging it, and trying to come up with a reasonable compromise in support of them, which we obviously have been accused of not supporting.
And I think the
That we're
collaboration.
supporting them, and that
I think the collaboration with the staff members that were involved in the program was really key in this. But I think that there's clearly disparity between how people view things from the school side and how people view things from the community side, and so that has to be bridged, obviously. staff members were involved in the decision and had those conversations with the administration, and they clearly have, concerns that are valid. And I think that there are community members who have expressed some concerns, have concerns that are valid as well. And I think that, the meeting that you have and the conversations that you have with the parents, I think will be telling, and, hopefully we can come to either a middle ground or some understanding about why exactly this, this policy is the best or, should not be, remain in place. Is there other old business?
Yeah, the piece that I brought up a little bit earlier, it asked for more information about the use of study islands for benchmarking, park prep, what grades, how often.
So right now, with the study island, this was a program that's already previously purchased, and so since it was purchased, we said, well, let's put it to good use.
It was my understanding that it was discontinued and then re-upped.
Resurfaced. So this is an online standard-based mastery program for students aligned to the Common Core. And what it does is it'll give very important information for the teacher to differentiate the instruction, to know where the kids are ranked in a particular skill or in a particular standard, make the necessary adjustments, to provide more in-depth discussion with the student, particularly when these students have the ability to be exposed to park-like instructional exercises that will familiarize themselves with park. And that is why a team of principals, they said, Israel, this would be a good practice for the kids. And not only just for the park, the fact that students are engaged in, exposed to skills that they really need. So right now we're using it intensely in high school, in middle school. I'm in the process of having that discussion with Benjamin, with Anthony, to see how it's being used at Bartle. To my understanding, there are a series of 4 benchmarks, four times a year, so we can monitor student progress at interim times during the year.
So basically, it sounds like you're saying it's all of our students other than students at Irving.
I'm sorry?
So it sounds like you're saying it's all of our students,
pretty much,
other than Irving, 2 through 12, or,
that's
or
right.
11, or seniors?
High school, yes.
Seniors are doing this as well?
I don't know if seniors
Because
are,
they're not gonna-
but I know that
They won't be taking park.
Yeah. So in my conversation with Mike Lassiter, they were already gearing up for the benchmark results, where teachers are now going to have these discussions with the students.
So 4 benchmarks during the year,
During the year.
and then intermittently in between, or is it just being used for that benchmarking, or is it being used as a regular part of classroom instruction on a daily basis, weekly basis?
Exactly, because based on those results, then teachers are given critical information on how to continue to support students' needs based on those results. And by the way, when the teachers use benchmarks and data based on assessments, it's not just assessments. It's portfolios, it's having conversation with the kids, it's classroom participation, so they can get a general feel of how the student is doing. So the study island is just one piece of the multiple tools that we use to get student information to meet their needs.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you know, test prep is a kind of buzzword now, so park prep, is a little...
I got to tell you, I have a pet peeve when it comes to test prep. I always feel that if good instruction is going on, kids are going to do great anyway. All right, but it's always a good idea, being that park is new to the students, to expose them to something that they are unfamiliar with. So I think it's a wonderful idea for teachers, for students to be exposed to park-like exercises to familiarize themselves for that day. So I think
the
it's a good
benchmarking
idea.
is Common Core aligned, right?
It's Common Core aligned.
So it's the benchmarking is aligned to the curriculum. So if you assuming that benchmarking is used appropriately, then what you're doing is you're benchmarking the curriculum. You're not benchmarking test prep. You're benchmarking the curriculum.
I'm just using the words that were used when the program was described to us in the board meeting.
Right.
I mean, I'm not putting that label on it. That's the label that was
Right.
assigned to it.
So if you're benchmarking curriculum, that means that you're benchmarking students' understanding of various content standards that are within the curriculum. Now, I totally agree as an administrator that, providing students with park-like questions is critical because the exam looks nothing like they've ever seen before. So there is an element of test prep, which is basically you're looking at some of these questions that have things like drag and drop or graphing points, right, or using highlighters, right,
For kids who have never sat at a computer.
Right, seen these things, right, exactly. So I think there's an element of that, but this seems to me like this is curricular benchmarking, and I think it's very important for, to sort of understand the distinction between those two things. We're not giving people like, 100 NJS questions,
Well,
right?
we haven't
Yeah.
been told what they are being given, so
Yeah.
that's why I wanted more clarification.
Sure.
And
No,
honestly,
absolutely.
I still feel like I'd like it fleshed out a little bit more, like exactly how often the kids are doing this. I mean, we did so much talking about benchmarking last year. We paid teachers to write benchmarks, and as far as I know, they're not being used. Now it sounds like we paid a bunch of money to have teachers write benchmarks that were aligned to the curriculum that our teachers wrote, and now instead they're doing it on Study Island. So what happened to benchmarking? Is this now what we're doing in the district for benchmarking in grades 2 through 11? Is any other benchmarking happening? What happened to all those benchmarks that we wrote and didn't pass? This is tied up in a much bigger picture for me than just test prep or how often are kids sitting at a computer doing things, because it's maybe going to help their PARCC scores, but is that really going to help them be better students?
Is there any other old business? Is there any new business?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes. The thing
New
I wanted to
business?
say when Charisse was up
Oh, yeah.
was
Appointing a position for that
appointing a
committee?
position, exactly, a board liaison to
I
that
think-
group.
Yeah, I think that when things, yeah, but I think when more information comes out, I think that's a very good idea. Yeah. Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments. Okay, we need a motion to adjourn. Resolution to go into executive session at 6:30 p.m. on December 8th, 2014 at middle school to discuss personnel, litigation, and negotiations.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.